We are going to test a $75 bolt today, a ClimbTech removable bolt. I guess that's what RB stands for. We got 2 of them today and we're going to test them in this mine in the middle of nowhere in Nevada that isn't stable, and they used to mine heavy metals. So what could go wrong? We have a hydraulic anchor deep in the back of this thing, and we're going to be pulling this bolt, which will be anchored closer to the entrance. We're going to be pulling away from us for safety. Let me tell you a little bit about this bolt. I'll show you how we're installing the bolt, and then you can watch us pull the bolt. I'm not going to hold you hostage. If you just want to see the carnage, timestamps are below.
Now, this 1/2-inch bolt isn't meant to be catching giant whippers. Now, their paperwork says that this 1/2-inch bolt is meant for static environments, such as top roping doesn't have giant whippers on them, and route setting and belaying, hauling, maybe search and rescue. And also they list industrial rope access, which is actually where I think it shines. The other stuff, I'm not so sure about, which I'll cover in a little bit. However, the commercial they put out about 6 years ago was clearly targeted to climbers.
These ClimbTech removable bolts since the prototypes came out, 1997, 1998. And I can honestly say I've never had one pull out. I've used them in situations from 1,000-foot big walls to overhanging sport climbs, and to me, this is the most essential piece of gear that I've come across for new routing.
This is the most essential piece of gear that I've come across for, and the commercial scrambles the rest of the words.
The most essential piece of gear that I've come across for new routing.
That made it sound like it's a standard piece of gear for every single rack that should go on every harness. That's the vibe I got years ago. And the commercial has a twist. The co-founder, Carl, who also invented the RB, took a giant 50-foot whipper on the bolt. Now, the one he whipped on was a 3/4-inch bolt, which is rated for 22 kilonewtons and can take a whipper, which I thought he originally was whipping on the 1/2-inch bolt, but then after watching the commercial again, it was 3/4-inch. Now, kudos to him for taking a giant whipper on this thing. I think it'd be great if everyone who invents gear takes whippers on their gear to make sure that it's super good enough. But now that I learned a lot more about forces, his feet were at the bolt, they had a ton of slack, so it was one of the softer catches you can do. That bolt probably didn't see more than 4 kilonewtons. Still kudos. And you can't see around the corner, you might have a 14-point anchor underneath that bolt in case it comes out, which I know at least I would have done if I was doing that trick. So this is clearly marketed to climbers. Now, the largest hole I've ever drilled in rock was 5/8 inch or 16 millimeter, and that's to install what I believe is some of the strongest bolts in the world that break almost at 20,000 pounds of force. More than super good enough. And those were hard. Even in sandstone, 5/8 inch was hard to drill. It takes a lot more battery and energy, and it leaves more impact, leaving a bigger hole. And so if this is intended for climbing, the 3/4-inch hole is massive. It's just massive how big of a hole that is to be putting in rock for a temporary anchor. Now, I'm not quite sure why you would need a temporary anchor that requires such a big hole, whereas I could get almost, I don't know, 100 kilonewtons out of a bolt, a 3/4-inch bolt. I just feel like there's some better options out there if you're just looking for a temporary option. Now, if you look on their website, they also have a 1-inch diameter version of this thing, rated for 10,000 pounds of force. Now, a 1-inch normal bolt would be probably rated a lot more than that, but it is removable, and that is has benefits for some applications. If you look at the level of certification they got and all of the instructions and fine print, you're realizing that they're trying to target more of the industrial rope access community more than they are climbers. Now, there might be a niche use for the 1/2-inch or maybe the 3/4-inch in the climbing community, but it's not like a standard piece of gear that belongs on every harness. Please let us know if you use them in the comment section below, what you think of them, and where they apply so people can get more than just my opinion on this. Now, their 1/2-inch bolt is really only designed for 2 people's static-ish body weight, so you could use it for like top roping, for example. But is it worth using these for that application? For the cost of the bolt, for the effort to drill a 1/2-inch hole, and requiring a hammer and a punch to remove it if it got set too much, I don't think so. Now, we do like ClimbTech. They make the wave bolt, which is extremely popular, and other bolting and climbing gear. They're great. It's just we're picking on this one product because I thought their ad 6 years ago was pretty funny. Now, if you are looking for a removable bolt, we found concrete screws are amazing. They're like $1, and they're some of the strongest bolts for the diameter that we've ever put in. We're constantly using only 3/8" bolts in order to hold down our hydraulics when we're doing our bolt buster tests. And Bobby regularly uses these for route setting. If he's not sure about where he might want an anchor, he'll temporarily put those in. And then after he installs the whole route, then he will replace that with glue-ins and upsize the hole if he likes it. Otherwise, it's just a 3/8" hole that you can fill, and it's a little bit less of an impact. Now, a zinc-plated 4" by 3/8" diameter concrete screw is only like $1, plus the hanger. And if you're gonna put in something permanent, please put in stainless, and we'll cover the caveats to both, how to use them, how strong they are, and our experience with them in a future video later this spring. So I ask that you subscribe in order to see that, and bigger channels get to do better episodes. It validates the channel, so when I approach different people, they're more likely to say yes. It doesn't cost you anything. Please subscribe. It helps us out a lot. I have weeks spent on the Book of Numbers in the Bolting Bible. You should go check it out. You can learn in 15 minutes what took me 5 years to figure out. It just has everything color-coded and organized in what bolts and where, and just different categories. Sometimes the test will show up in 2 charts if it's relevant for both those charts. And hopefully we're able to answer more and more questions for you guys in the bolting community. And thank you to Kevin Kent, who did provide these 2 bolts for us to break. They are expensive. And also to my patrons who make it possible for me to work 30 hours a day, 8 days a week, in order to answer every question anybody's ever had about gear they trust. Someday maybe we'll make that happen.
You can see that the fins on the top get pulled down. You have the cone. The cone is a little bit less than a 1/2 inch, which is the size of the hole it goes in. And then as the fins go out, they expand and hopefully stay in the hole. Now, this is going to be strongest when you're pulling straight out, as opposed to shear, where if you hold it here and pull down, because the cable in here is going to get kinked. Now, a lot of bolts are sometimes stronger in shear because you're not pulling against either the wedge or the glue. And so shear is going to give you like really strong results, but not on this. It's not meant for that. You can do it. You're just not going to get possibly 11 kilonewtons. Now, the first test we're going to do in this mine is straight out, because I want to do best case scenario. And then if we are getting great results, we'll put it in this way and pull it in shear.
Looking like it's holding. There's the plunger. So we're gonna see if we can remove this. We're gonna back the pressure off. A steel beaner to a soft shackle to a bigger soft shackle to a giant yellow span set with our adjustable sling method. Going to the slack snap load cell that we have to a big AH, big ass hydraulic. It goes to a sliding X party for an anchor. And this keeps it from flying backwards when our bolts break.
How many expert bolt installers does it take to install a climb?
Well, we'll show you here putting in a fresh one. That's how easy it is. So kudos for that part. We'll see if they get kudos for the exit part. All right, that is pretty cool. Oh, wait.
That wasn't too bad.
That was not too bad. There are much harder to remove removable bolts. Well, let's see if I can get it back in there. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, let's pull it to failure. I'm so glad I put that blanket there. Oh, wow. It broke at 14. It didn't come out. Wow, that's gonna, oh, this is falling apart. The spring, oh, the cable broke. Would you whip, Bobby?
Yeah. I mean, that's a cam.
14.12.
I don't think there's anything to pull against if we do get it to move. But you can see there where the wire broke.
So if you pull that around the corner and shear, you're gonna get less because that cable's gonna just break sooner.
Maybe.
You can see that it broke right where that crimp is. Doesn't seem like a lot of pressure, but enough to make it where it breaks. And now Steve is putting in the next hole for us to test in shear. So let's see how fast we can destroy $75. 1 kilonewton, 2 kilonewtons. Our Are you kidding me? 6.58 kilonewtons. It's the MBS of a mine shaft. Would you whip?
The rock, not so much.
All right, well that didn't work out so hot for us. Can you get the bolt out? Yeah, do it. But don't break the bolt. Get it? Oh, what's the red stuff?
Red stuff is cinnabar. That's a mercury sulfide.
Ah, I should touch that.
Don't lick your finger after you've touched it.
Wow, let me see. It's a little, yeah. The cable's like kind of kinked, but it's good enough for the next test. Whoa, over MBS. Oh my gosh. This is the first thing that's ever flown the direction I wasn't pulling. 13.48. Same thing. Cable broke in the same spot as this one. The cable snaps off right where it's swaged. I gotta show the swag that you can get at hownottoswag.com. Are you ready? I'm impressed. Now, being $75, I don't necessarily think you should just go out and buy them so you can top rope. There are other ways to do that. Ow, it doesn't have a plunger anymore. Put in the comments if you've used these, what you think of them, and where you would use them. What else was I supposed to say? That's not good. Like, on the donut holes. Really? The donut holes are already next to the rat shit, but like still, like they were edible.
Here are some of my final thoughts. When I first heard about RBs, I was like, whoa, this is like the perfect solution. And then when I did some more research, turns out they're kind of hard to place, expensive. So I never ended up buying a pair. In my circle of friends, I don't know of anybody using them. Titan concrete screws, in my opinion, are a much cheaper option, and they fulfill all of the same criteria. There is this utopian idea that I keep seeing on forums. What if you made a hidden sport climb and then you'd use RBs to climb it? You could have whole areas equipped like that. In practice, I don't know that anybody's done it, and it's kind of silly for a number of reasons. One, it really would be hidden. Bolts are hard enough to find on some routes, and imagine finding a hole. And then, of course, the hole's going to fill up with dirt, need to be cleaned, maybe re-drilled. And then the cost of it, in addition to having all of your draws already, an RB is like 6 or 7 times the cost of a draw. And then you need 10 or 15 of them. So I don't ever see that really taking off. Climbtech, like, I love their products. I've spent thousands of dollars on hangers and mussy hooks. I heard a while back a rumor that they were not going to sell to the climbing market anymore, and I like called them up real quick and like, hey, tell me this isn't true. And they're like, it's not true. And I was like super relieved. But the RB, while a cool product, pretty niche, not a general use product by any means, even in route development.